Hey everyone, I want to take a moment to talk about something really important: mental health and addiction. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or drug addiction, especially if they're facing chronic relapses or have a history of bouncing in and out of treatment centers, I want to recommend Baja Rehab. Baja is a premier lockdown treatment center located just 45 minutes from the San Diego border in beautiful Mexico. I've had the opportunity to visit their facility, and I can tell you firsthand it's not only stunning, but also equipped with everything needed for recovery. They offer comprehensive medical detox and have a dedicated team of drug counselors and specialized therapists. If you are ready to take the first step towards healing, call Shalom, the intake director, at 619-855-6368. That's 619-855-6368. Your loved ones deserve a second chance, so don't wait until it's too late. Reach out to Baja Rehab today. This is the Fuck Fentanyl guy letting you know if you or a loved one is injured in a motorcycle accident, then call 1-800-Lawtigers for a free case evaluation. We are available 24/7. That's 1-800-Lawtigers with over $1.5 billion recovered in verdicts and settlements. Nobody got your back more than Lawtigers.
It's cold, son. And I don't expect for you to understand. Oh, babe, keep on sobbing, don't fuck with my babe. This is my house now. Oh, babe, keep on sobbing, don't fuck with my head. Keep on sobbing. Oh, keep on sobbing, go fuck with my ride. This is my house now.
I had to listen to it again. Kimosabi, Dope Lemon. And that was a famous clip from Step Brothers. I'm Luis Romero, and this is the Fuck Fentanyl podcast. And I have my friend Caitanya on.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Thank you. And I pronounced your name correctly.
Yes, Caitanya.
Yes. I'm really excited to have you on here. It sounds like you've lived a little bit of a life, and I can't wait for you to share it on here.
Yeah, definitely lived a bit of a life, and I'm happy to be on the podcast and ready to share my story, and hoping that somebody out there that's listening that maybe is feeling hopeless or lost can get some direction and know they're not alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Pacific Beach, San Diego.
Nice.
And the second half of my childhood was Ocean Beach, San Diego.
Okay.
So I grew up a few blocks from the ocean, and
nice.
that was my sanctuary.
Oh, yeah.
I always had sand in my hair. I was barefoot.
Nice.
Yeah, and I learned a lot through the ocean, surrender and respect and resilience. And I still learn a lot from the ocean. So I feel very grateful to have it so close to me and since childhood.
Hell yeah. You're still a beach girl?
Still a beach girl. I just spent the whole day at the beach on Thursday with my girls, taught my friend's daughter how to surf. And
Oh, really?
yeah, it was wonderful.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've always been like pretty connected with, the nature and
Yeah.
the ocean and all that.
Yeah, I remember my older brother, he would teach me life lessons through the ocean, you don't have control over the ocean. You have to just kind of go with the flow sometimes. And sometimes you might get tumbled in a wave and you have to relax and just let it beat you down into some humility, which
I love that.
That lesson repeated as I got older.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of have respect for something greater than you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's always been like that, that phrase, when people struggle with the higher power concept. Have you ever tried to push back a wave?
Try to push back a wave? Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that before? I mean, I remember hearing that when I first got sober.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's where it takes me back. I always just, even though like I struggle with that second step early on, I do remember like the ocean kind of being like one of the things I could connect with, and I can go, well, yeah, that is power greater than myself, just right there alone.
Absolutely. You stand right there on the shore and you can feel it,
Right.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And so how was your life like growing up in PB?
It was a mix. You know, I was grateful to have grown up by the water.
Yeah.
Back then, you could be poor and live by the ocean.
No, not so much now.
No, we got gentrified right out of there.
Yeah,
but I was really
it's
grateful.
all transplants now.
Yeah, yeah. And I was raised Hindu, so I was raised by the Hare Krishna temple. Yeah. And so that was a really great spiritual foundation because I was taught a loving God. You know, he didn't punish me. You know, karma, reincarnation all goes hand in hand with that. And it was a rich culture. We call our God Krishna.
Yeah.
And there are rituals that I still do today. I still consider myself a Hindu, a Vaishnav, Hare Krishna. Yeah, and so I think it's beautiful to have
Absolutely
that in your daily life, no matter how it looks from whatever spirituality or religious or 12-step background.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So you always had a background in spirituality.
Yeah.
You know, from the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I lost touch with it for a while, but then
Absolutely.
when it came back, it was there. Yeah. Krishna was there waiting for me, and you know, after I was done running amok. But you know, it wasn't all beautiful. My stepdad had mental health problems.
Yeah.
Especially his anger. He was very violent.
Yeah.
And out of the 4 of us siblings, he took it out on me. So it created a core belief that I was bad. I was defective. Something was wrong with me. I wasn't lovable.
Yeah.
And I was taught a poor example of what looked like, of what love looked like and what love felt like. And you'll hear in my story that pattern repeats.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know, if we
absolutely.
only knew how to do things at a young age, we wouldn't have made so many mistakes. But that's part of the beauty of life, is overcoming them.
Right. No, yeah, I agree with that. And you know, somebody recently told me, actually on this podcast, you know, like it's the gateway to alcoholism and addiction is trauma.
Yeah,
childhood
absolutely.
Trauma.
Yeah, and a lot of people, that's something I specialize in now, is treating trauma and addiction. And a lot of people don't realize that they had, you know, some maladaptive examples as a child. And, you know, because everybody's like, why did I become an alcoholic? Some people are like, nothing made me an alcoholic. I was just an alcoholic. And that might be true for some people, but I find that most people, there's something that hit us early on, and our solution was alcohol and drugs.
Yes.
Because we didn't know how else to cope with it.
Right.
You know, we just did what was close by. And and at first for me, that coping mechanism was dance. I loved dance. I lived and breathed it. I went to an art school in high school.
Yeah.
I was dancing at a certain point, 7 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah,
you were serious.
I was serious. I was
what kind of dancing?
All of it: modern, tap, jazz, ballet, hip hop, Bharatanatyam, all of it. Okay. Yeah, but very heavy in modern and hip hop. That was my troupe. And at school, I went to SCPA down here in Paradise Hills.
Oh, for reals?
Yeah, and it was everything. It was my freedom. It was my expression. It was my escape. It was my therapy. But then around the same time, when I was so deep in my dancing, I found alcohol.
I see.
And that was a new kind of escape.
Oh, for sure. How old were you when you started drinking?
I had my first drink at 14.
Okay.
And I remember it was a beer, and I was with my friend in OB, and we were like, oh, yeah. That's pretty cool. Let's try that again.
Right.
And then I started finding more friends that liked drinking too. And so from the get-go, I was a blackout drinker.
Oh.
That's the only way I wanted to drink. So you could find me down at the OB bonfires getting blackout drunk. And I was having a blast from what I can remember.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, you know, I loved it. When I drank, I felt likable. I felt lovable. I didn't feel like that bad kid that my stepdad and my mom reinforced.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that I did receive a lot of love as a child, which what it made that made it more confusing because on
yeah.
one hand I was getting love, and the other hand,
Yeah.
if I would speak up or stand up for myself, I was getting violence. So it created this really confusing situation.
Well, especially when you're so young.
Yeah, I
You're
was just a little girl. I didn't know.
Right.
And when I got older, those feelings of, I'm unlovable, I'm unlikable, they disappeared because I was fun.
Yeah.
I was making people laugh. I was doing weird, backflip party tricks.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
it was a great time.
Like the party.
Yeah, yeah. Which is a double-edged sword when people keep inviting you out to drink and you
Right.
get reinforced. I go, oh, they like me when I'm drunk. They
Yeah,
like me
yeah.
when I'm drunk, But and then right after my junior year of high school, I had just turned 16 and my mom moved across country with my siblings. And I didn't want to leave San Diego. I had one more year left in high school and I was in my dance troupe and I had all my friends and the rest of my family were here. And I did not want to go to North Central Florida.
Oh, no. Oh, God, no. Nobody does.
Yeah. And I was a very, very strong-headed teenager. And I refused to go. And my mom didn't know how to fight back against that. So she went without me. And although I thought I was going to be okay, I still needed my mom.
Yeah, of course.
And without anybody trying to control me, I stayed back with my grandma and my dad was still in OB.
Mm-hmm.
And I went off to the races. That's when my drinking really took off. And then when I was 18, I moved to LA and I started working in nightlife and I was fully in it. Clubs, drugs, chaos.
Yeah.
It was a blast. I found somebody who had my same hair color and my same height, and I offered to buy her ID.
Yeah.
And she said, sure, just don't tell anybody. And they didn't care in LA back then. They were like, close enough, come on in.
Yeah, you good. You're pretty, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was fun, you know. I thought I was living the life.
Right.
I was experimenting, partying. I was saying I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking at work, even though I could. I still was, had my quote unquote control over it.
Sure.
And I thought the people around me were the coolest. And then at first it was fun. It was my choice. But somewhere along the line, my wiring got hijacked and it stopped being a choice.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people probably can't understand that. We say we didn't have a choice. We couldn't stop. And it's like, well, it seems like it's a choice because you're picking it up and putting it to your mouth or to your nose. Like that seems like a choice. And it's well, it was at first. Yeah. I didn't think that this would happen to me, or I thought it was just going to be one fun night.
Right.
And then as it goes, our wiring gets hijacked and we literally cannot stop. And it takes divine intervention to be able to stop that and a lot of suffering.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And by 21, I knew that I had a problem.
I see. At legal age?
Yeah. So before I was even old enough to go into the bars, I was like, I have a problem. Yeah. This is really affecting my life. Because I knew that I wanted to get a higher education. I wanted to get licensed as a therapist. I had all these goals, but I wasn't prioritizing it. That's what I told myself. And I had this voice inside my head every time I would party and drink and spend too much money and stay up for too many days and the hangovers. Yeah. I would be mean to myself. That voice came on. You're so stupid. What are you doing? You can't get it together. And I was trying, I was living this double life. So like on one hand, I had all these dreams and aspirations and ambition. And then on the other hand, I was partying and drinking and my days were spent intoxicated, hungover. Yeah. And those hangovers were hell, man. They would take 1 to 2 days, crawling on the
recovery
floor.
days.
Yeah, and then a few days after that, you're like, I'm good.
Back at it.
Yeah, back at it. So I was living these double lives, and it took me, I was trying to get my AA at City College for like 12 years.
Wow.
Like I just kept going and trying. It's 2 years of college. I spread out super long because I was drunk all the time.
Right.
So yeah, that double life was really challenging for me. And I think the drugs and the alcohol were muting it, you know, and by drugs, I loved cocaine with my alcohol.
Oh.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
You like to stay up?
Yeah. I like to stay. Really, like when I looked back at it, I was like, I love drinking, and cocaine kept the drinking going.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was a mad chemist. Oh, need a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that.
For sure.
Yeah. And so it was fun for a long time. And then, you know, it wasn't. And then in my late 20s, and if you're from San Diego, you'll know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
I moved out to East County and found a new drug.
No. Oh, no.
So, yeah. Meth was...
I know you were going to say that.
In my mind, I was like, oh, this is it right here. What have I been messing around with?
Yeah,
you know?
right.
This is cheaper. It
Right.
lasts longer.
Right.
And I honestly thought that nobody could tell I was drunk when I was on meth.
Oh, for sure.
It's wild.
I'm sure you fooled so many people.
I'm sure I fooled nobody except for myself.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part. Yeah. So that
man. What got you started with meth? Was it just offered and you're like, fuck it?
yeah.
Okay.
I was in East County, and that's what they do out there. you
Yeah,
know?
that's true.
Yeah. So,
At a trailer park.
yeah. Somebody had it.
Just playing.
And I did it, and I liked it, and it kept ramping up. And then I met somebody who was just as lost as I was.
I see.
And we used together all the time. Yeah. And our life got really gross.
As it happens in East County.
Yeah. I mean, we ended up in a motorhome parked outside of a rat-infested house.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And it was chaos. It was a lot of violence, a lot of crime from the get-go.
Right.
Like it never felt good. It was just another addiction. He was another addiction to me.
Right.
And
On top of others.
Yeah. And I just wanted him to love me. And it was more like trying to master my childhood of wishing my stepdad loved me, you know, just repeating these cycles. Yeah. And I saw my mom stay in these abusive relationships. So I thought, if only I could try and get him to love me more. If I do this, if I do that, if only he would do this, if only he would do that, you know, and I was trying to control the situation.
I see. You were hoping that he was going to change and make it into this healthy, loving relationship. And
and looking back, it's like, what was I thinking?
No, it wasn't happening.
But I didn't know any better. And I think that's important to have compassion for the parts that of us that, you know, went through that. Is I did the best I could at that time. Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of shame and guilt surrounding our past. And
of course,
we didn't know any better. Yeah. And if we did, we couldn't do any better. We didn't have the tools. Right. Our core beliefs are, you know, faulty. Yeah. And that's okay. You know, I think that's a really common thing that everybody went through.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. But, you know, it spiraled fast. You know, the paranoia crept in, the chaos, the cops were coming way too often. And, you know, I was creating a ripple effect of pain. My mother was crying herself to sleep if she even slept at nights. Right. When she was in India, she was going to every single temple praying I wouldn't die. Yeah. Not just help her get sober, you know, please don't let my daughter die. And everybody that knew me. They saw the destruction. I was isolating myself. Right. You know, addiction was the most abusive relationship I've ever been in. Yeah, it lied to me. It was destructive emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. Yeah. You know, I think everybody can relate to that.
No, absolutely.
It kept me from maturing and achieving my goals. Yeah. It left me on the floor for days, vomiting, shaking, headaches from hell. Yeah. I feel you. You know, just thrashing in agony. Yeah. And I kept going back over and over and over. Yeah. I mean, like if you replace that with a man or a woman and that's how they were treating you, like what am I doing? Yeah. But I was in that with a man and with addiction. It was just, I was abusing myself with the you know, being stuck on drugs and alcohol, and I was in an abusive relationship because I truly thought, I didn't realize this at the time, but retrospectively, that's what I thought I deserved. Yeah. If I didn't, I wouldn't have been in it. Like that's what I accepted in my life because that's what was modeled for me.
I understand that.
Yeah.
You weren't happy with yourself, and it's just like, this is what I deserve, and this is going to be it forever.
Yeah, and we don't have those conversations with ourselves. That's not like what we say out loud, right? This is what I deserve.
Right. But
but looking back, you're like,
it is.
That had to have been what I felt deep down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's too bad that we have to go through that pain, but it happens in life, and from it I definitely grew. But for a while, like from 21 when I knew I had an addiction issue to when I got sober at 32, I was trying to control it on my own because I was like, I do not want to quit this completely, and I definitely don't want to go to AA.
Never that.
No, never that. So I was trying everything imaginable.
Yeah.
Everything that it says in the big book. I tried it and then some, and nothing was working. And then when I got to meth, it spiraled me down so fast that I'm actually grateful that I did meth, because I could have still been coasting to this day.
With just alcohol and
just doing cocaine and drinking and partying. But the meth picked up with the alcohol, and then the violence and all the other forms of abuse in the relationship.
I see.
I did what I knew best to cope, was just to do more drugs and alcohol. So it became a around the clock thing. I would wake up in the middle of the night, take a shot just to go back to bed. Yeah. I was waking up, and for breakfast I had a line of meth and a giant glass of vodka just to get normal.
Right.
Start the day. Like, this is okay, let's go. What are you having for breakfast? It is not the breakfast of champions, I'll tell you that.
No.
Yeah, and it was like Groundhog Day, same thing every day. Yeah. Today's going to be different. Okay, I'm going to stop one of these days. Yeah. And then so, throughout my whole time using, I thought I went through hell. We're like, oh yeah, I've experienced trauma, I've experienced hell. But in those last days of using, it was a darkness. Yeah. That I think only people that have been there can understand. Like, it's an incomprehensible darkness. You're definitely in quicksand. You can't get out. It's stretching all across you. Right. And you face, the four horsemen, the terror, bewilderment, frustration, and despair. Right. And you don't know what to do. And you're just stuck.
Yeah. Hopeless.
Hopeless, helpless. And then I kept thinking, if I just leave him, I'll get better. If I just get a different job, I'll get better. If I fix this, fix that, I'll get better. Yeah. But the truth was undeniable. Like, no matter what I did, I was still in the same spot. Everywhere you go, there you are. Right. So I actually was able to get out of the relationship with police intervention. So it finally clicked. Like, if I'm going to die if I stay in this relationship, I see. So the cops came, and this time I was like, okay, I'll get a restraining order. Wow. And I was able to get away. And I found myself still staring at myself in the mirror, because everywhere you go, there you are. Yeah. And then it hit a soul-breaking moment. And I remember being on the floor of my bathroom, sobbing, the darkest place in my life, and praying to that God that I was raised with, Krishna, and begging, please get me out of this. I was wrecked. And I remember hearing the words, "You are meant for so much more than this." Yeah. And that whisper saved my life. Because it opened up a small window of my willingness. And for a second, I believed in myself that I really was meant for more than this. That I tried to take action, and that was a pivot point. Like, okay, there's got to be something more. I can't keep living this every day. And it brought me to a place of humility and willingness. I knew that I couldn't do it on my own anymore. I stopped being stubborn and strong-headed, and I reached out for help. And I said, hands in the air, I can't do it. What do I do? Yeah. And, at first I was trying to call rehabs and detox centers. And it was like, first of all, I was so intoxicated that I couldn't even
You couldn't even open
dial
up
the number. I was like, this is ridiculous. My brain's done. And so there was more shame from that. Like, great. I drank myself dumb.
I've been there.
Yeah. But like when they would pick up, they would go, oh yeah, it'll be $30,000. Like, are you kidding me? And
Damn,
like, I
yes.
don't have 30K. They're like,
Yeah.
Like, can you get it from somebody else? I'm like,
Yeah,
do you
they always
think,
ask that.
Yeah, do you think if I had $30,000, I would really be calling you? Like, I got better ideas for 30K.
I've said that exact same thing.
Yeah. You know, so making all these calls, you feel defeated. And You're like, screw it. I guess this is just my life. But then I remembered AA because I was court ordered to AA in my early 20s. And in my early 20s, I went to the OB Clubhouse, and I remember the warmth in there. The women that approached me and made me feel welcomed and accepted me just the way I was. I really felt that from them, from the core of my being. I didn't feel judged by them.
Yeah.
And that was important because I was judging myself and I was being mean to myself. So I needed to feel that from somebody for a change. So I heard about the Women's Recovery Home Turning Point over in Golden Hills.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah, so I had a plan. I was like, okay, well, first I got to detox. So my mom took me to the ER, and I drank real good before I got into that ER. I'll tell you
last
what.
hurrah.
Yeah, one last hurrah. And then I went to the ER, and I got my medications, and a friend stayed with me at my house to make sure that I was taking them and didn't slip out and get some more booze. And you know, it was a really hard week. But then I immediately started to go to meetings, and I was told 90 meetings in 90 days, get a sponsor, do the steps, read the book.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I got into Turning Point, and I did the steps as if my life depended on it because it did. I was terrified. Like before I got into Turning Point, they're like, oh, you have to come to meetings every week and this and that. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't get in right away. Like, what am I going to do out here?
Right.
So it was scary. So I just stayed in the rooms because I was like, I can't go back to that life because I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And I don't know if I'm going to be willing enough to do it.
Right.
Because at that point, when I was back surrounded by, like I was in the rooms of AA and people were believing in me at the perfect timing because I had started to lose faith in myself. I was like, I'm not worth this. What's the point? I've never been able to stop. Who do I think I am that I can stop this time? Why do I think this is going to work? So these voices came into my head. But I had gotten into the rooms quick enough so other people could go, we're going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. And at Turning Point, I got that too. That's awesome. And it was so lovely. I needed that. I needed that love because I hated myself. And so I also knew that my ideas got me nowhere and I had no other options, you know? So I was literally at the last house on the block in Turning Point. I lived and breathed AA. You know, the girls would be like, come watch a movie. And I'm like, I'm not here to watch movies. Like, I'm in the book. I'm doing the steps. I'm reading a book that I don't even understand because my brain's still broken, but I'm just doing it.
A little wet brain.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I knew that I had to stay in that mindset. It had to be my every breath or else I would slip back. And so that fear kept me sober for a long time. Yeah. And I always say, like, AA is great brainwashing. We got to show up every day. My brain's filthy. Let's wash it out. Let's get new thoughts because my old ones sucked. Right. And then so I did it. I did the 12 steps within 2 months. I did everything my sponsor told me to. You know, I knew that if I just did what these people suggested, then I could be like them. And they had stayed sober for decades based on this philosophy. So seemed like a good solution to me. Right. And then something unexpected happened. Uh-oh. I felt peace, joy, and serenity. Wow. And I didn't know what those feelings could feel like. Just like the depth of addiction brought me to a feeling I never knew existed. Right. On the other side, doing the hard work in recovery brought me to a place that I never knew it existed. And the closest I can get to it, to explaining it, is like taking the biggest inhale of the cleanest air and the longest exhale and staying in that exhale.
Yeah.
That's serenity.
Yeah.
And that's what doing this hard work got me. It's what AA got me. It's what the steps got me.
Mm.
And I also think that, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, there's controversy about mental health treatment and AA and the steps. But,
Yeah.
you know, the steps are mental health treatment.
Yeah, absolutely they are.
You know, we experience, we deal with our shame and guilt.
Yeah.
We do healthy self-reflection.
Yeah.
We get a perspective change, you know,
Right.
look at things from a different angle.
Right.
And we stay in the humility, which is a beautiful place to be because you're always learning when you're in humility.
Yes.
And that's where I always want to stay. And my addiction is connected with my ego.
Yes, it is.
So I got to be careful. That's a sneaky one right there.
It does. It likes to sneak in there.
Yeah. So a lot of, you know, the 12 steps are not, this is how you stop drinking and doing drugs. It's,
Right.
This is how you solve the core issues that are making you want to escape into the drinking and the drugs. And
Right.
so on top of that, though, I have also done a lot of therapy on my own, and I find them a beautiful companion. And a lot of people that are therapists are very familiar with the 12 steps.
Yes.
And Krishna kept bringing me into the path with them. So I had some therapists who let me know in so many ways that they speak the same language. And so it was helpful to have that in conjunction. But the most powerful part about AA is the community. And there are even longitudinal studies that show out of all of the treatments you can do that are, you know, public facing, like Smart Recovery, AA, et cetera, the AA is the most effective because of the community factor.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that for a long time. I don't know if you can relate to that.
I have I stepped away from it.
Yeah.
For I think 8 years.
Uh-huh.
I've been sober for 12.
Yeah.
So I definitely can relate to that, and I kind of lived my life on autopilot.
Uh-huh.
And I believe I probably can, because I'm so hard-headed. I'm such a stubborn person that I probably can live my life like that forever. But I just felt a lot of pain. Yeah. And I'm failing to hold my actions accountable because I am secretly isolating myself.
Right.
And so that's why I wanted to come back into the rooms. I guess you're not familiar with my story, but yeah, when my best friend died, I was a lot in my feelings and my emotions, and you know, because we were really, really close, you know, using buddies, and even like, you know, throughout high school and stuff like that. So when he died, I just, like, you know, kind of broke that barrier inside my head, and then I just wanted to kind of go back into the roots that led me into recovery.
Yeah, it's a great way to take some serious pain and turn it into something worthwhile and something to give back to.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to face that. I've lost 3 uncles to heroin, and one of my cousins is addicted to fentanyl right now, and we're waiting for that call any day. And
it's hard.
Addiction runs deep on both sides of my family. You know, it's really hard to face those deaths.
Yeah.
But, you know, that post-traumatic growth from having these, like, getting knocked upside the head by something so intense can really be a catalyst for a lot of beauty. And I think that's what so many of us experience. And that's why it's great to be able to work with people that are going through this, because you see the results. Right. You know, I hear, you know, doctors will say, I like to work with people in recovery because, you know, with somebody with heart disease or obesity, you're like, do this, this, and that, and you'll get better. And then they're like, somebody with addiction, do this, this, and that, and they get better, and they just exponentially shoot up. You know, it's really a great reward to be able to work with that. Yeah. And that's what happened with me. So as a result of doing everything that I was told to do in AA, my life just catapulted. And I have this theory based on stories that I've heard over time in my own experience, that the amount of pain you suffered prior to getting sober correlates with how much you'll catapult into life if you do the work exactly like it's suggested.
I believe in that too.
Yeah, and that's what happened with me. And as soon as I got my bearings down, I went back to school. I got my undergraduate degree in psychology. I got my master's
Shit.
degree in social work. I
Yeah.
got my hours for licensing. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. You know, I've
Wow.
had the pleasure of working at the VA with veterans and in the past with all different age groups, all different, you know, acuities of mental health issues and addiction. And it's just been the most rewarding thing in my life. And,
That's
you
awesome.
know, last year I just bought a house. I just started
Really?
my private practice. Yeah. And this,
What?
and then I'm not saying this to brag, of course.
No,
It does
yeah.
feel
But
good
that's
to,
cool.
to
That's
share.
a nice
It's,
shiny thing to share
it's a
about.
huge accomplishment, you know, to be able to say that a girl that used to think that all she deserved was, you know, living in a rat infested house and getting
Right.
beat by her boyfriend to
Yeah.
owning her own house, her own business,
Yeah.
and being to serve other people every day with a clear mind, saying that I'm worth more than that.
Yeah.
And that's all because of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah. That's some amazing stuff. That's not a flex. That's just like a miracle. You know.
It is a miracle. It really is. And it's all because, you know, I had that moment of total defeat, you know, and I heard that whisper, you're meant for more than this.
Yeah.
And I honor that whisper today because now I get to serve others. And so I have my practice, Deep Clarity Therapy, where I work with people with, you know, high stigmatized lives and professions, addiction, trauma. And then I just started working with Wind and Sea Recovery, serving people in the very beginning stages of their addiction, that rawness, that realness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the team there is great. You know, everybody's been through it. They understand it, and it's balanced with great, you know, evidence-based treatment modalities and the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I was told, please incorporate AA and the 12 steps into your treatment, I was like, nothing comes more natural to me. And I was so grateful to hear that because, you know, at the VA, I can't tell people, oh, you know, what step are you on? How's that going? Let's talk about it. I had to keep God and 12 steps, everything separate from my treatment. So it's beautiful to be able to incorporate it because that's what worked for me. And that's what we've seen work for people for almost 100 years now.
Yeah, right.
So it works. Let's do it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been really rewarding.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I had one question.
Sure.
Just a slightly backtrack.
Okay.
Because you took almost 12 years to get your AA, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take you from when you got sober to get all your credentials and all that?
So it was 2 years of my undergrad, 2 years of my master's, 2 years of my license. And I just
So 6
jumped
years.
right into it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Half the time it took for me to get my.
It's just a nice little measuring tool.
Yeah, totally. I was on fire for life and I still am.
Yeah.
You know, I did hit a rough patch in my sobriety. So my sobriety date is February 27th, 2018.
Nice.
So I've been sober a little over 7 years.
That's awesome. Here. Let me. There you go. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I've been sober a little over 7 years, and I was doing everything I was supposed to. In the morning, I was doing my morning rituals.
Yeah.
Throughout the day, I was doing what I needed to do, worked with other alcoholics and addicts, and spot check inventories and nightly inventories and, you know, all the things we got to do, connecting with my higher power.
Yeah.
And then you know, about 3 years in, I started to slack a little bit.
Okay.
And I was isolating because it was a pandemic. So
Oh,
everything
that's
was
right.
from home. So
Yeah,
it was like
yeah.
both at the same time were hitting me, and I started to experience severe depression. And I went on medications for it.
Yeah.
And those helped because I was like, I'm so depressed. I don't think I could finish school. Like, I'm going to flunk.
Yeah.
So I got onto some antidepressants, and I was able to get off those eventually, and I started leaning back into the program. So where my rituals slipped, but I didn't relapse. I was able to have people around me that were like, come back in the middle. Like, you know, we see you out there. So
That's awesome.
the community of AA brought me back in. And the more I lean into AA, and the community, the 12 steps, everything about it, the better I feel. And when I lean out of it, the worse I feel.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when my clients tell me, they're doing regular therapy, they're on their mental health medications, and they're like, you know what? I'm feeling better. I don't think I need therapy or my meds anymore.
Nice. Got it. They got it.
Yeah. It's like, maybe that's why you're feeling better. And so AA is my medication.
Right.
Why would I stop doing the thing that worked in the first place?
Right.
I want to live in AA, and everybody's like, oh, great, I got to do this the rest of my life. No, we get to do this the rest of our life. Like, what's a few minutes in the morning and at night for a lifetime of freedom where I don't have to go searching for something to escape myself because I feel good in my own skin. Yeah. Like, I'm on fire for that still. Yeah. And I love seeing the light switch go on with women that I work with. It's the most beautiful, rewarding thing, and it keeps me in humility, and it keeps me out of my ego and my addiction because I know I'm not doing this. This is beyond me. Like, I couldn't do it on my own. No, so I needed something bigger. And so I stay appreciating that and trying to honor the gift that was given to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I do like to just make that go back into like how important connection is. Humans connecting with each other. Like I feel like it's so important because it's when we think we got this and we isolate, just like my own personal account and maybe a little bit of yours. That's when it's when the cunning and baffling and powerful aspect of addiction just kind of gets their hands on our brains and and tries to take us out.
Yeah, it's that delusion.
Yeah. So, but that's why I do stay in AA, and I want to keep on staying in there, because I feel much more better now. Where at this point in my life, with that support system. Yeah. We're here in San Diego. I hear this all the time because I do talk to people outside. I hear that we are really blessed with like an amazing community. Yeah. Out here, versus some other parts of the world or the country. It's just like people are just not happy, and they're just you know what I mean? Like it's like they're just dialing it in.
Yeah, I think that's an important factor to bring up too. Is like the community is so big and plays such a big role, and we are lucky in San Diego. Yeah. And there's recently a wise woman told me because my delusion was coming up, like I'm too smart for AA. I just I drank because of the trauma. Yeah. I dealt with most of the trauma. I'm fine now. Right. I can drink like a normal person. I'm fine. Or I can stay sober without AA. These thoughts I think pop into a lot of people's minds. Right. And she was like, you need to stay in AA because we're the only ones that can call you on your bullshit. And our bullshit is the delusion that comes into our mind, and that's our addiction trying to sneak in and cram its way in there. So it's important to stay around other people so you can hear it over and over and be like, damn, sneaky addiction's coming back in. That ego is slipping in, and I need to stay in that humility.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. And I guess one more thing I just wanted to cover, because I another thing is like I love to highlight the utmost importance about connecting with another recovering addict. Like the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is so important to me, because it's like I can't really talk about what I'm feeling right to an average Joe, or just some like a coworker, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't get it. That's what we think. They don't know what I went through. Yeah.
So I always like to highlight that, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty cool, and your side too, because you are a therapist, that you can connect to that level with your practice as well.
Yeah, that's what's really rewarding about having deep clarity therapy is I have control over who I bring into my practice, and I talk to them to make sure it's a good fit for both of us. And I'm so grateful for the clients that I have because they line up so well with my purpose of helping people with addiction, trauma, you know, that not feeling whole, not feeling worthy, feeling ostracized by the community, you know. And so it's so rewarding to be able to work with those people. And I'm transparent on a level with them that gives me credibility with them, you know, like, so they go, she knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And same with Wind and Sea Recovery. Like, I love being in the rooms with those people and hearing what they're going through, because I get excited because I know there's a solution for their pain.
Right.
You know, if they can just stay in their seat long enough.
Right.
And the people that I work with feel the same way. You know, it's a great place to be around. And I'm so grateful to have both of these positions to be able to serve and give back and sit in front of another alcoholic and go, let's get this going. Let's figure it out together. Jump down in there with them and go, let's see the way out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I truly am so grateful that you came on here and told us your story. And like I said, I really admire your recovery, but I just think that it's really, what you're doing is so cool because of just like that fact that you've been there and done that, and you can reach out to other people who are struggling in so many other areas of their lives.
Yeah.
Outside of just meeting somebody in a meeting, you're living your full life in purpose, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to say to those listening, if somebody out there is really suffering, whether you're sober or not, we are out here and we want to help you get better.
Yeah.
We have love for you. We have compassion. We have empathy. You are not a burden. Just reach out and ask somebody for help, and we will wrap our arms around you and love you until you can love yourself.
That's right. Well, let's end it right there. Thank you so much for coming on again.
Thanks for having me.
All right.